a woman leans on a guy, complaining about feeling dizzy while total chaos takes over. Waking up startled, the boy hears a mysterious voice demanding to know who he is, and as he looks around he notices he's in this giant white hall absolutely packed with people. Completely shell-shocked, he tries to wrap his head around what on earth is going on. Lost in the crowd, Xiaolin wonders if he just got kidnapped or if it's all just a crazy dream. But a sharp throbbing in his head makes him realize that this whole thing is completely real. Soon enough, a memory flashes back, and he remembers this bizarre letter he received. Thinking back on it, he introduces himself as a fresh college grad. Before this, the dude made a living boosting gaming accounts with some absolutely insane plays. And after yet another match, the victory screen confirms another job well done. Wrapping up the gig, our MC stretches out in his chair, feeling pretty good about himself. After that, he chills on his bed, munching on a cookie, while scrolling through his phone, looking at a post from his family. The kid ends up getting a little deep in thought. Remembering his dad calling him good for nothing, he says he moved out just to prove himself, but he didn't have the slightest clue about what was going to go down that very same night. A few days after moving out, a delivery guy drops off a super sketchy package in the dead of night. The moment he opens the box, this bizarre dark energy starts leaking right out of it. Swallowed up by the darkness, the kid goes into a full-blown panic. Right then the system drops an alert about his admission to Dawn Academy, and straight up teleports him. So, the letter drops to the floor as he vanishes from his room in the blink of an eye. Back in the present, he figures out he was abducted and totally thinks it's some kind of prank, but a voice cuts him off asking if Sleeping Beauty is finally awake. A dude rocking a ponytail glares at him, roasting him for snoozing for 3 whole hours. The crowd completely loses it, screaming and threatening to call the cops. Quicking his tongue, the guy isn't even fazed by all the yelling. Right after that, he grips the hilt of his sword, ready to make a move, and out of nowhere, a purple aura bursts out as he draws the blade. That energy sends a shockwave through the hall, hitting everyone who was making a racket, weapon in hand. He tells everyone to shut their traps right then and there. Another veteran groans, complaining that there's always some clueless newbie in the mix. Annoyed, the instructor warns that he'll keep it short since they already wasted so much time. Watching everything dead seriously, our boy tries to figure out what the deal is with this place. Qin Chuan introduces himself as their instructor and tells them they need to train for a whole new world. At that point, a woman chimes in saying that over there they can snag power, wealth, and even immortality. Cutting the chatter, the instructor orders everyone to gear up for a potential test. Doing the math and seeing about 200 people there, Xiaolin assumes it's some sort of alien colonization. When a guy steps onto the platform, our main dude compares the whole thing to checking RPG stats. The machine quickly beeps, confirming that the test is all done. Checking out the score of 24 points, Qin calls up the next person in line. After that, another guy scores 32 points and celebrates like there's no tomorrow. Complaining about the rookies, the instructor says he's going to have a chat with the headmaster about these total scrubs. It's finally Xiaolin's turn, and the machine just starts beeping non-stop. Getting kinda anxious, he thinks to hold up is super weird since everyone else breezed right through. Noticing how long it's taking, the instructor gets pretty curious about the whole mystery. At last, the test finishes up and the kid lets out a huge sigh of relief. But before he can step off, Qin stops him, hoping he just stumbled upon a rare gem. He stares at the screen with his eyes wide open, expecting something mind-blowing. The screen displays Xiaoho's name along with his strength, agility, and intelligence stats sitting at a big fat 2. Completely shocked, the instructor sees that the grand total is a measly 9 points. And with that, the veteran says he has never seen anyone so trash in all of history. Our boy feels pretty awful hearing the veteran call him a legendary loser. Qin Chuan regrets the wasted time, actually believing he had found a total prodigy. Giving him a look of pure disgust, he just mutters, "What a loser." That word really stings Xiaolin, bringing back memories of everyone who ever called him garbage. He cracks a furious smile, remembering how he's been pushed around his entire life. He absolutely refuses to accept that label ever again. The instructor tells him that with stats that low, the exam is basically a guaranteed game over. Losing his patience, our MC reaches out and snatches his ID tag. With a quick reflex, our guy books it out of there. Glaring right at the guy, he states that a stupid number isn't going to dictate his future. Qin mocks his stubbornness, telling him to just go and not wet his pants out of fear. Just then, a girl asks what exactly this talented student thing is all about. The instructor explains that they are the gifted ones, destined to be absolute powerhouses. Hearing the harsh reality, the rest of the rookies start getting seriously worried. Ben, the girl with glasses, asks what the catch is to get that kind of power. Recognizing Gu Xiaowei as the top dog of the group, he decides to answer her calmly. Qin breaks it down, saying that credits and points are the Academy's universal currency. Gu Xiaowei just nods, taking a second to process all that info. The kid notices that the instructor is way more polite to the folks with high stats. Shortly after, the guy teaches everyone how to check their attributes using just their minds. Holding onto his tag, our MC focuses hard and triggers the command. A system screen pops up, and he freezes when he sees he only has 60 years of lifespan left. Total panic breaks out when one dude realizes he only has 9 years left on his clock, but all of a sudden, a totally different beep catches Xiao Lin's attention. A notification pops up saying one of his hidden talents just got unlocked. He is totally dumbfounded, unable to figure out how a scrub could have something so special. Confused as heck, he looks around to see if anybody else caught that. Noticing that the others are quiet, he realizes he's the only one who can see it. The system alerts him that this talent isn't even in its database. The analysis reveals he can now double his learning speed and copy magic spells. Since it's something totally unheard of, the system lets him name the talent himself. Thinking fast about how the skill actually works, he decides to keep it straightforward. With absolute confidence, he names his new power, Academic Prodigy. The system locks in the name and starts calculating the skill's tier. And just like that, the SS rank is revealed while a surge of energy wraps around the kid. He thinks over the discovery, trying to wrap his head around how massive this power really is. Realizing that not even the instructor noticed a thing, he knows he's in the clear. With a sneaky little smile, our boy understands he's got a massive ace up his sleeve now. He gets super determined, knowing this is his golden ticket to making it out in one piece. But a newbie totally freaks out, screaming that he's going to get wiped out if he loses 10 years of his life. Annoyed, Qin Chuan grabs the guy by his hoodie and calls him an idiot. He confirms that it's a permanent game over, but tells him they actually got lucky. The instructor explains that in this place, life is just a resource you can earn. Still a bit confused, our boy tries to process all this absolute madness. The master keeps going, saying that the academy is the ultimate way to flip their destiny. Smiling, he wraps up by saying that even immortality is on the table if you've got enough points. Gu Xiaolio interrupts, wanting to know if that rule applies everywhere. He explains that the rule already applies to them even when they head back to Earth. Wrapping up the chat, the instructor announces that the exam is kicking off right now. Then he raises his hand and orders everyone to stay exactly where they are. Right then, a robotic voice chimes in saying the teleportation and countdown are about to kick off. Starting at 3, the newbies and the glasses-wearing girl are sweating bullets. At 2, the vibe gets super heavy as the squad braces for whatever's coming their way. And at 1, a purple light swallows everyone up, ticking off this massive group trip. Left behind, Qin Chuan complains that there's zero talent in this batch of rookies. Totally frustrated, he facepalms and complains about his terrible luck. But right after that, he lets out this sarcastic, super depressed chuckle. Then this beefy instructor puffing on a cigar rolls up, calling his name. The guy flexes that his class scored 2 prodigies and asks how Qin's group did. Bragging about his genius with a stat score of 40, Qin fires back that high stats mean nothing without actual talent. He points out that double S talents are basically a myth, and even an S rank is ridiculously rare. The scene cuts to a goblin nest where the absolute stench has everyone feeling sick to their stomachs. Our main guy covers his mouth, fighting for his life just to keep his lunch down. Suddenly, a system screen pops up right in his face. The panel lays out the escape missions plus some optional side quests to hunt down the goblins. Another message pops up offering a starter pack with a totally random weapon, and the system drops a huge relief. Biting the dust in this exam won't actually drain your lifespan. The rookies celebrate, totally relieved that there's no real danger of getting wiped out for good. So our MC reaches out and taps the button to crack open his loot box. He scores an F-rank novice staff equipped with an energy orb spell. The second he grabs the item, this cool purple aura starts wrapping around his body. Right away, the screen tells him he just unlocked staff mastery at level 1. The guy realizes the XP system works exactly like the video games he's totally obsessed with. With a determined look, he can feel the tables turning in his favor. Slamming the staff into the ground, the crystal at the tip starts glowing with raw purple energy, and right after that he just straight up whacks a nearby rock with the staff. The impact shatters the rock, kicking up a thick cloud of dust. The system hits him with a notification that he just bagged 2 experience points for his mastery. Grinning, our MC figures out that he just needs to spam the weapon to level up fast. Thanks to his academic prodigy trait, he's going to level up twice as fast as everyone else. But the second he actually tries to cast a spell, he gets a massive headache. The system chimes in, letting him know he doesn't even have enough mana for a single spell. Just then, a swordsman starts flexing his XP, so the MC decides it's time to start grinding too. But another rookie points out that they're on a tight clock and can't afford to just mess around. Shaolin decides to swap for a physical weapon so he can actually put his buff to good use. Out of nowhere, Gu Xiaowei walks up and asks if he's down to trade weapons. She explains that magic drains intelligence stats, which he happens to have plenty of. Because of that, she figures the staff is a way better match for her build. He introduces himself as Shaolin and double-checks if she's actually the famous Gu Xiaoye. The girl cuts right to the chase and asks if they have a deal. He agrees on the spot, but gives her a heads up that the staff takes some serious aim. Grabbing the short sword, our guy unlocks his new mastery and instantly feels way better about his chances. Checking her out from a distance, he figures he should probably look for a duo partner. So he tries to ask her to team up for the exam, but some meathead steps right in front of him trying to steal the girl's attention for himself. The dude starts flexing his crazy high stats and invites her to join his squad instead. Calling the MC just a pretty face, the big guy claims he's way more reliable in a fight. Gu Xiaofei stays totally quiet, just giving the dude an icy, deadpan stare. And right after that, she turns her back and tells him she's literally not interested at all. Another recruit cracks up at the hard rejection and the musclehead gets totally triggered. The guy cracks his neck from side to side, absolutely boiling with rage over what he just heard. Then the big dude glares at our MC, who has no clue why this guy is so heated. Out of nowhere, the meathead lunges forward, grabbing Shaolin by the collar and screaming in his face. He completely trashes the kid over his garbage stats and calls him total dead weight. But our main guy claps back calmly, telling him he better save that energy for the actual mission. The big guy completely loses it at the audacity and threatens to lay him out right there on the spot. With a little smirk, our MC couldn't care less about the tough guy act. Completely mocking him, he casually mentions that the bully won't even get the chance. Right as MQ, a green monster with massive claws creeps up behind the dude, making him freeze cold. The goblin goes all in, slashing the meathead's shoulder without an ounce of mercy. With his face sliced up, the big guy roars in pain and pure fury. The green beast leaps up again, looking to finish the job, but the big guy reacts fast, taking down the monster with one heavy slash. Panting over the beast, he admits he almost got a one-way ticket out of the game. Super pissed, he blames our MC for not giving him a heads up about the goblin ambush. But suddenly, he feels us up when he notices something sketchy in the woods. Creeping out from the trees, a massive horde of goblins starts closing in. Absolute panic breaks out, and the rookie starts screaming in terror. It's pure chaos, with people begging for their lives while hopelessly trying to fight back. One recruit takes a nasty hit, and his body instantly shatters into digital pixels. The whole scene turns into a total beatdown, with students vanishing from the map, one right after the other, blocking an attack. Our boy feels the heavy impact and realizes just how real the danger is. Mid-fight, one of the girls can barely handle the nasty rotten smell. Gu Xiaowei readies her staff, feeling the very real pain of every single hit. And our MC, rocking a bruised face, realizes that getting hurt here actually stings like crazy. He admits he was totally naive to think this was just a game, because the stakes here are no joke. Just then, someone spots a cave and screams for everyone to take cover inside. Coming in clutch for a classmate, our main guy shoves him into the shelter just in time. Now safe, he looks back, having this bad feeling that their peace and quiet won't last long. A hologram pops up, warning them that the safe zone only lasts 30 minutes and the clock is ticking. Gripping his sword tight, he knows he has to keep his cool and figure out a game plan. With a fiercely determined look, he realizes that just sitting around means accepting game over. So, he goes right back to grinding, and the system hits him with 2 more XP points. He figures out he needs absolute perfect aim to make up for his garbage stats. With only 2 minutes left on the clock, panic seriously starts settling in for the other rookies. One of them yells that the mission is completely rigged because the monsters are way too fast. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiaoye just sits there watching everything unfold, staying totally chill. She locks her eyes on our guy, who hasn't stopped swinging at the cave wall. A bit later, he finally stops, totally wiped out and drenched in sweat from the grind. The girl walks over and tells him the training is pointless, since it would take a whole hour just to hit level 2. Shaolin is honestly pretty blown away by how fast she did the math. He actually agrees that for a normal player, her math would be spot on, but with a smirk, he flexes his academic prodigy buff. His screen pops up showing he's already at 98 points, just inches away from leveling up. Thanking her for the heads up, he asks if she managed to figure out anything about the goblins. Caught off guard, the glasses-wearing girl asks how he knew she was analyzing the enemies. He brushes it off as a gamer habit, but she admits she's literally never played a video game in her life. The guy lets her in on a secret. The goblins have weak spots on their backs and right at their hearts. Looking at the paralyzed crowd, he realizes that straight-up fear is their biggest enemy right now. Curled up on the floor, a girl bursts into tears, realizing that without some courage, they stand absolutely zero chance. Gu Xiaoye gives a heads up that their shield is running out, and our MC finally agrees to stop running away. But the big meathead steps right in their way, getting all up in their faces and asking where they think they're going. Totally ignoring our guy, the big dude invites the girl to join his squad and calls the MC absolute dead weight. She calmly explains that the real challenge isn't just playing hide and seek, but actually throwing down with the Goblin King. The meathead flips out, pointing out that the boss hasn't even spawned yet, and she should just focus on staying in one piece. The girl claps back, saying the quest is right there and there's gotta be some kind of trigger to make the boss show up. Looking over their options, she figures out that the secret is the number of monsters they managed to take down. Xiaolin agrees, guessing that clearing out enough of these goblins will totally force the big boss out of hiding. The archer girl starts low-key panicking, absolutely terrified of facing such a heavy-hitting beast. Our guy explains that there's no real penalty for getting wiped out in here, but the loot for winning is just insane. He asks if they'll ever get another golden ticket like this, and says they need to go all in right now. The rest of the rookies buy into it, realizing that taking the gamble is definitely the move. The bully tells them to stop listening to the wimp, and starts flexing about his 32 points. Gu Xiaohyo cuts him right off, saying that's pretty much average, which makes him ask what her stats are. With ultimate boss energy, she drops the mic and reveals she started with 46 points. And right after that, she stares the dude down and tells him to keep his mouth shut. The big guy just freezes, looking totally mind-blown as he stares at her staff. Our MC is also shook because her stats are literally 5 times higher than his own. Gu steps up as the shot caller, ordering everyone to team up so they can actually get things done. She assigns the meathead to be the frontline tank, and he rolls with it, even though he's salty about it. She sets up the archers as backline support, grouping them into trios to sweep the field. Then, she turns to Xiaolin and asks what exactly his job in the party is going to be. He volunteers to finish off the weakened enemies, dodging the direct brawls just to play it safe. With the game plan set, the squad rolls out of the cave locked in battle formation. The big dude charges in first, letting out a battle cry and swinging his massive broadsword. Meanwhile, the archers let it rain, laying down some solid cover fire from a distance. Even with arrows sticking out of them, the goblins just keep charging forward, looking super mad. One of them closes in on the archer girl, and she lets out a panicked scream as she gets cornered. But our MC pops up out of nowhere and slices the creep before it can do any real damage. With his first takedown in the bag, he squares up to keep his teammates safe. He tells the girl to save her stamina and wait for the perfect window to strike. Sticking to the script, he moves lightning fast and drops a second monster with clean precision. Right after that, he slashes another enemy, bumping his streak up to 3. And next, he skewers another one, racking up his 4th takedown in a row. One of the students notices how cracked the MC is, but the meathead just grumbles that it's pure luck. But Gu can see right through it. She realizes he's actually reading their moves and playing high IQ strats. The system pops up with an XP bonus, and his sword mastery levels up to 2. Our guy mentally thanks all his hours of gaming, which gave him the exact precision he needed here. Then he checks his stats, totally locked in and ready to keep the momentum going. Since he's the very first to level up a skill, the Academy blesses him with a bonus ability. Just like that, Heavy Strike unlocks, and this epic dark aura wraps around our boy. The system warns him that the move drains a ton of stamina and takes some serious strength to pull off. Hyped about his new power-up, he realizes he's only one goblin short of clearing the side quest. Spotting an enemy on the ground, he gears up to deliver the final blow. After wiping out his 5th target, a notification pops up confirming the first milestone is officially in the bag. He grips his weapon tight, super stoked to finally check off one of his objectives. All of a sudden, the monster drops start pixelating and vanishing, leaving the whole squad confused. The big dude starts yelling, totally clueless as the enemies just poof out of the forest. A system prompt announces that the conditions have been met now that the goblin mob is cleared. Out from the trees steps this absolute unit of a monster, and the system announces the arrival of the Goblin King. And there he is, a horned beast rocking braids, while our main guy just stares way up at this giant. The Goblin King blows smoke out of his nose, giving everyone the ultimate death stare. Then, the big guy raises his club and lets out a roar that sends a crazy powerful shockwave right at them. Covering her ears, The archer girl screams that the noise is basically blowing out her eardrums. Drenched in sweat, she completely loses her cool at the sheer presence of this thing. Standing next to Gu Xiaoye, our boy stares down the boss too, literally unable to believe how massive this dude is. The Goblin King fully steps into the light, flexing a ridiculously huge health bar floating right over his head. He's the ultimate dungeon master, an absolute unit and insanely intimidating. Shaolin realizes that all the tiny goblin minions have completely despawned from the mat. The panic is real and one of the rookies screams that there's no way they can beat a boss like this. The scaredy cat tries to make a run for it, but the MC yells at him to freeze right in his tracks. See? Our guy remembers that the eyesight on these mobs is actually pretty terrible. On the flip side, he knows their sense of smell and hearing are completely busted. And sure enough, the king's ear twitches, meaning he totally picked up on the sound of the runaway. The MC realizes that this dude's panic sprinting is going to pull all the aggro straight to them, but the group's meathead decides to step up and take this thing head on. He snaps at the others, yelling that they can actually win if they just gang up on it. Letting out a battle cry, the big guy charges in, calling the monster a total freak. The Goblin King just stands there watching him swing. Except the big guy's broadsword just bounces off the beast's belly without even leaving a scratch. The meathead just freezes, totally glitching out over how useless his attack was. In return, the king brings down his club, smashing a massive crater right into the dirt. The big dude takes it straight to the face and goes flying, getting completely one-shot. His body starts turning into pixels, and the rest of the students are absolutely paralyzed with shock. Total chaos breaks out, and one of the rookies screams for everyone to run for their lives after watching Wang Dailin get wiped. One student is literally screaming his lungs out while making a desperate dash away from the monster. But the Goblin King is way faster. He catches up to the poor guy and just stomps him flat out of the game. The giant goes on an absolute rampage, sweeping the battlefield and taking out a bunch of students all at once. The archer girl gets clipped too and is sent brutally flying through the air. Down on the ground with zero stamina left, she watches the beast's huge shadow creep up for the finishing move. But out of nowhere, one of Gu Xiaowei's spells blasts the Goblin King right in the arm. The hit chips away a chunk of the boss's health, buying the archer just enough time to crawl to safety. Looking annoyed, Gu complains that she completely missed her actual target. She realizes that arm shots barely do any damage and knows she needs to aim for the vitals. She thinks to herself that her whole game plan depended on the others holding the monster's aggro. But as she looks around, she sees that their entire team formation is completely busted. Left flying solo against this giant, she admits that her strategy was way too optimistic and now the king is gearing up to squash her. Right then, she turns around, calls someone a total idiot, and screams at them to run away. It's our main guy, who slides right in and stands between her and the boss. The king locks onto his new target, but our boy manages to parry the massive club with his little sword. Planting his hand on the ground, Shaolin locks in, ready for a real one-on-one with the boss. Still crouched down, he explains that the monster's AI always targets whoever is closest. The guy barks orders, telling everyone to stop panicking and start throwing ranged attacks. The archer girl nods, saying she'll back him up however she can. He tells Gu Xiaowei to use her insane DPS to melt the monster's health bar whenever there's an opening. Right on cue, the archer knocks an arrow while the mage starts charging up her staff. The hits land square on the beast's chest. But this guy's skin is literally tough as nails. The giant slams his club into the ground and the archer gets super hyped, seeing that their tactic is actually working. Our MC yells out that they've got this and tells the squad to stay locked in on the game plan. But the Goblin King is not having it at all and lets out a furious roar. The monster claps its hands together, charging up a ton of energy. Then, it punches the ground, spawning stone spikes all over the battlefield. The archer gets hit and shatters into pixels, sending our MC into full panic mode. After the attack, the beast just stands there staring down whoever is left. Now, it is just Shaolin and Gu Xiaoye left against the big boss. Panting, the girl asks if the two of them even stand a chance of winning. He asks how much mana she has left to keep blasting her orbs. She replies that she can fire off maybe 2 more shots at most. Our guy says that works, but Gu warns him she does not have the aim for a critical hit. With a smirk, he promises he will lock the monster down for her. A notification pops up, triggering the academic prodigy talent. With a glint in his eye, our boy gets ready to make his move. The boss's skill gets detected. A CF rank shockwave. Behind him, a ghostly phantom mimics the exact same attack as the king. Charging forward, he remembers back when everyone used to call him a total loser. But now, wrapped in a purple aura, He declares that this game is all his. The system confirms, Shockwave successfully copied for 3 minutes. With a determined look, our MC gets ready to counterattack. He stares down the king, who is already charging up green energy for another swing. Shaolin figures out that his copied version is way faster than the monster's. With his eye glowing bright, he focuses on getting the perfect timing. Then, the screen confirms his shockwave is officially active. His sword clashes against the king's fist, bursting with green light. Just like he predicted, the beast's attack can totally be interrupted. The monster's attack gets cancelled, knocking it off balance and sending it stumbling backward. The main guy pushes forward, hyped that his theory was right on the money. He readies his sword, exhausted but completely locked in. Only catch is, now he has to wait through a 30-second cooldown before he can use it again. The timer shows he still has 22 seconds left on the clock. Suddenly, a purple explosion blasts the monster right in the chest. The creature howls in pain from the impact of Goo's spell. Exhausted, she warns him she only has 1 shot left and is totally bewildered by what our guy just pulled off. The Goblin King bounces back and rips a massive boulder right out of the ground. The cooldown timer keeps ticking down, with 16 seconds left to go. The monster hurls the boulder and our MC realizes there is 0 chance to dodge. So, flashing a smirk, he decides to take the danger head-on. Setting up for a block, his sword starts to glow. Thu screams his name as the massive rock explodes upon hitting the ground. Through the dust cloud, the Goblin King stares at the trail of destruction. But our boy stays locked in the rubble, banged up but still in one piece. The skill cooldown keeps dropping, leaving just 10 seconds on the clock. The timer keeps ticking down, and he needs to buy every single millisecond he can. Shaolin knows the shockwave will not do squat from a distance, so he sprints to get right underneath the monster's center of gravity. The cooldown finally wraps up, with just 1 second left to spare. Sword in hand, he readies himself for the takedown. Charged up with power, he commands the monster to stop dead in its tracks. Right as cue, the system chimes in that the skill is ready to roll, and he immediately fires off his copied shockwave. A purple shockwave bursts from his sword, stopping the Goblin King completely. Right after that, our boy yells out Gu Xiaoye's name to deliver the final blow. The mage catches his drift and unleashes her ultimate spell right at the beast's head. The hit completely drains the boss's health bar and it starts fading away into a bunch of pixels. A system screen pops up, confirming the Goblin King has officially been defeated. Our boy watches as the monster's massive body vanishes into thin air. Then another notification pops up saying Optional Mission 2 was a total success. Completely exhausted, our MC drops his sword, leaving it planted right in the dirt. With his body fading away, he sighs in relief that they finally pulled it off. But he passes out right after, suddenly remembering they still had to reach the safe zone. Hu Xiaowei starts freaking out, thinking they are never going to make it there in time. Meanwhile, an admissions director is checking out the freshmen's test results. He points out that most kids landed between ranks F and C, with only a handful hitting rank A. But then he drops the bomb that 15 students actually scored an S rank, leaving the teachers totally floored. One instructor wonders out loud if this year's newbies are seriously just that gifted. The teachers start bragging non-stop about all the high-tier talent in their classes. The director confirms this is hands down the most talented class they have seen in a decade. But Instructor Kin is feeling super bummed because his class did not get a single prodigy. The director chimes in that Class 7 actually broke 2 records, leaving Kin super confused. The first record was having 2 talentless students somehow score an S rank. The second was having the highest starting intelligence stats ever seen in the Academy's history. Chen almost loses his mind when he finds out they also broke the record for the absolute worst starting stats. The director mentions this even caught the principal's eye and pulls up the duo's data. Back in the simulation, the exam wraps up, and our boy wakes up without a single scratch on him. The screen confirms he bagged an S rank on all 3 missions and dishes out all the sweet rewards. He is totally confused, wondering how the heck he made it to the safe zone after blacking out. It quickly clicks that Zhu Xiaowei must have literally carried him across the finish line. Right then, the archer who survived waves at him, looking happier than ever. She thanks both of them big time, saying without them she never would have snagged an A ring. Admitting she got taken out at the very end, she asks if they actually managed to beat the Goblin King. Our boy confirms it and she starts cheering, saying she totally knew they were absolute beasts. In the background, some dude in a tank top gives our MC a super salty look. The big guy mutters that it was pure luck and that our MC almost got wiped out. Just then, the mage walks up and calls our guy by his name. Looking dead serious, she asks to pull him aside for a private chat about the boss fight. In a quiet corner, the two start hashing out how the exam went down. He thanks her for having his back at the end, admitting he just wanted to score the max bonuses. but she fires right back, saying that without him, she never would have landed that final hit. Our MC realizes the girl is super sharp and does not let a single detail slide. She tells him she knows he is hiding some secrets but promises to keep her mouth totally shut about it. Our boy just flashes a smile and thanks his partner for keeping things on the down low. Right after, the mage suggests they add each other on the system so they can stay in touch. She explains he just needs to mentally call out to the AI brain to pop open the menu. The two of them focus up and pull up the interface at the exact same time. The hologram flashes the boy's data, showing off those super low starting stats. Gu asks for his ID, and he reads out the numbers 201, 235. Instantly, her friend request pops right up on his screen, and without skipping a beat, he instantly accepts her request. Out of nowhere, Kin starts yelling, ordering anyone who scored an F rank to report to the entrance immediately. He barks at everyone else to pull up their maps and heads straight over to the track field. As the students shuffle around, the instructor keeps his eyes glued to our MC and the mage. The teacher pulls Gu Xiaoye aside for a private chat, and she nods to show she got the message. Cao Lin pulls up the map and plots his route to the field, noticing he's got to cut across the courtyard. He gets a little deep in thought, wondering if Kin called her over because of her S rank, or if he caught on to something else. Before long, the students make it to the massive track field, which is already packed to the brim with freshmen. Our MC looks at the huge crowd and starts stressing over the real-world fallout of this many people just vanishing into thin air. Gu Xiaohui walks back over and assures him she kept her mouth totally shut about his secrets. All of a sudden, a super bossy voice sparks an order for everyone to clear the way right now. A group strolls through, and their leader demands that everyone line up by class without bunching up like a flock of sheep. The group takes their spot in front of a crystal podium that's literally hovering in midair. A dude with blue hair steps up and introduces himself as the student council president. He explains that the principal is running late and gives the newbies an official welcome on behalf of the school. But right then, an absolute ear-splitting roar cuts him off and leaves everyone completely shook. Total panic breaks out across the field since nobody has a clue where that wild sound just came from. Up in the sky, a ginormous dragon suddenly appears, scaring the living daylights out of everyone. Our boy is totally flabbergasted, having a really hard time wrapping his head around the fact that he's looking at a real-life dragon. From the intense pressure in the air alone, he realizes this beast is the real deal, completely made of flesh and bone. The monster's aura is so overwhelming that our guy's body just locks up, and he can't even twitch. Gu Xiaoyue feels the exact same gut-wrenching fear, getting completely frozen on the spot. The dragon touches down on the field, and everyone spots a white-haired old dude riding on its back. The old-timer says sorry for being late, claiming he ran into a few hiccups along the way. A notification pops up, officially tagging him as the principal of Dawn Academy. The student council president awkwardly points out that his entrance was just a bit too extra. The principal blows his top and asks if the kid seriously thinks he rode an oversized lizard just for kicks. He explains that the beast went feral during the world jump, and threatens to turn the thing into a leather couch. The MC figures the principal has to be the only guy with enough clearance to actually see his true talent. The white-bearded dude steps up and throws out some praise for the crazy potential of this year's freshman class. His eye glows with some mystic symbol as he scans the whole crowd of students. All of a sudden, Xiao Lin gets spooked when he feels a massive shift in the area's energy. A wild purple light floods the whole place, and a voice screams out the command, "Amplification." The principal says he's skipping the formal intro since he knows everybody's already annoyed. He throws the admissions department under the bus for the midnight jump scares and promises to switch up the rules. But shifting gears, he promises to finally answer who they all are and what they're actually doing there. Wrapped in that sick purple aura, he drops a bomb on the children of the old world, telling them they are all colonizers. He explains that they're currently standing on planet Norma, also known as the New World. And he makes it crystal clear that Dawn Academy only exists to train the ultimate elite of this front line. He straight up declares that Norma is the turf they'll be fighting to take over in the future. The principal lays it out: their normal, boring lives officially ended the second they open that acceptance letter. He predicts that some of them are going to be totally overpowered generals, leading massive armies. Others will turn into supreme mages, with enough juice to literally rewrite the laws of magic. And a few will climb all the way to the top as the absolute rulers of these wild new lands. He promises ultimate power, crazy wisdom, and even immortality to whoever bags the treasures of Norma. Wrapping things up, he announces a massive twist. Usually, freshmen aren't allowed anywhere near the New World. But this time around, the top 3 from the entrance exam are getting early access, which instantly sparks an uproar. The principal shoots a glare so ridiculously intimidating that it completely shuts up the student council president on the spot. Sweating bullets, the dude immediately backs down and apologizes for stepping way out of line. The principal wraps up his little speech saying he's already talked way too much and just dismisses everybody. Our MC is super suspicious about this new rule, but he decides to just focus on grinding and getting stronger at the academy. Out of nowhere, somebody shouts Xiaolin's name, telling him to hold up a sec. It's Instructor Qin, and our guy turns around super curious about what the dude wants. Qin drops the news that the top scorer usually becomes the class rep, but Yu Xiaowei flat out turned down the gig. So, he slaps the title on our MC instead, promising him extra credits and a bunch of sweet perks. The instructor bluntly says this is a total lifesaver for a trash-tier student, but warns him there's going to be a re-election pretty soon. The teacher takes off, letting him know the freshman manual will get sent straight to his system. Xiaolin's curiosity gets the best of him as he tries to guess what kind of crazy perks he just scored. A little bit later, he finally rolls up to the student dorms. At the front desk, they let him know the doors lock at 7, and anyone missing is getting their credits docked. The girl working the desk notices something off and lets out a confused, "Ha!" But once she checks his file, she totally hypes him up for being the new class rep. Pulling a total 180, she drags him off to grab the best room available and stock up on supplies. After that, she hands him his green freshman uniform and breaks down what the different color codes mean for each year. She hooks him up with an exclusive solo dorm room, which honestly leaves our guy pretty impressed. The receptionist tosses him his ID card, telling him it's his golden ticket for buying stuff and attending classes. Introducing herself as Zhang Ting Ting, she asks for his digits so she can help him out later. Our boy politely says thanks to the upperclassmen for being so cool to him. As she heads out, she gives him a heads up to be careful with his classes, and he hits her with a "see ya later." Once he's alone, he totally figures out her whole VIP treatment was just because of his shiny new title. Chilling in his room, he realizes the social hierarchy here is absolutely cutthroat, then logs in to check his classes. He focuses up and pulls open the ridiculously massive course catalog on the system. Our MC's jaw drops when he sees the downright insane amount of classes he can pick from. He's got to lock in 4 courses, but he's feeling pretty cocky about his whole prodigy talent thing. Knowing his base stats are kinda trash, he decides to focus purely on boosting them using his learning bonus. He locks in swordsmanship, conditioning, and meditation just to make sure his build stays balanced. The screen hits him with the confirmation, tossing in a few mandatory classes about Norma 2. He signs off on the whole schedule, fully aware that in this crazy place, might literally makes right. Cut to the training room, where the sound of some serious grunting proves the grind has officially started. Wailing on a wooden training post, the system keeps popping up to confirm his sweet XP gains. He reminds himself to put his hips into it, knowing his talent is literally doubling every ounce of work he puts in. Every clean hit bags him 2 points, and he stays laser-focused on mastering the fundamentals. Before you know it, his swordsmanship levels up to 3, bumping his overall strength up to 3 points. Dripping with sweat, he realizes he's basically grinding at double the speed of any normal dude out there. Meanwhile, some other student completely faceplants onto the floor, whining that he can't take another second of this. One of his classmates instantly roasts him, telling him his stamina is an absolute joke. Teacher Cheng Na screams at the top of her lungs that absolutely nobody is walking out that door until they hit level 3 in swordsmanship. The totally gassed kid sheds a literal tear and silently curses the teacher, calling her a straight-up demon. A bunch of others start complaining that it's going to take hours to level up, and that they aren't freaking superheroes. Our guy casually strolls up to the teacher and calls her by name. He casually mentions he already hit level 3 and asks if he can bounce to catch his next class. The teacher just stares him down, hitting him with a super sharp, completely skeptical look. Not buying it for a second, she asks if he's pulling her leg about leveling up that much in just 2 hours. Calling him a smart aleck, she tells him to come up with a way better excuse if he wants to ditch her class. Rolling her eyes, she figures this kid is seriously trying to pull a fast one on a veteran like her. Our boy snaps back, saying the stats don't lie and she's more than welcome to check for herself right now. The teacher lets out a little chuckle and asks if he really puts that much faith in just a bunch of numbers. Right then and there, she feels if the combat simulator to put the kid to the ultimate test. The whole scenery shifts in a blink, and suddenly, freaky skeletons start popping up from every direction. Suiting up in her armor, she smirks and says she'd rather see his so-called skills in actual combat. A robotic voice officially kicks off the training session right in the middle of this dark, bone-filled arena. He quickly realizes that this room literally bends the rules of Norma just to create the most hardcore training setup possible. The instructor gives him a heads up that, hey, at least inside this room he won't actually kick the bucket for real. But she gives him this dead serious look and warns him that the physical pain in there is 100% real. She explains that the simulator costs an absolute fortune and she's blowing it all just on his test, summoning a bunch of skeletons. She challenges him to prove his sword skills in actual combat. The teacher lets him know that their strength is pretty much on par with the goblins from the exam. Chang-na makes him a deal. If he clears the dungeon, he gets to dip out of class early whenever he wants. The Undead Crypt quest pops up, and the goal is to either survive or take down 20 targets. Right away, our boy finds himself completely surrounded by the bony warriors. Shook to his core, he figures the lady has to be a total psycho to open a whole dungeon just for a pop quiz. Out of nowhere, he gets his hands on a rank E refined iron short sword. Staring down the enemies, our MC sees two ways to wrap this up. He could just try to stall for time, or, with a fierce glare, he could decide to just wipe them all out at once. One of the soldiers lunges at him with a scythe, totally ready to strike. But our guy smoothly dodges and counterattacks with flawless precision. The system confirms the first elimination out of 20 skeletons on the counter. Analyzing the fight, he realizes he needs 2 clean hits to take each of them down. Fired up, he does the math and figures out he'll need 40 strikes in total. Watching from a distance, Chang now wonders if he's seriously going to try to take them all down. She's actually caught off guard, expecting him to panic. But he's keeping his form in check perfectly. Our main guy keeps on fighting, showing insane precision with every single move. Moving super smoothly, he shows off some incredibly quick decision-making skills. The teacher admits the kid is sharp, but his base stats are absolute garbage. Then it suddenly hits her. He only picked those classes to boost his stats. Fatigue kicks in, and the teacher figures his body has finally hit its limit. He's already taken out 13 skeletons all by himself, which is honestly a miracle for someone at his level. With 28 minutes left on the clock, he's already cleared out a huge chunk of the mob. One of the monsters clips him in the back, making him let out a shout of pain. Chang-na just smirks, thinking it's about time he faced reality and threw in the towel. She tells him to be a good boy and quit, while he braces himself for the worst. But then, with a wild gleam in his eye, he activates Heavy Slash Level 1. Using the skill, he slices through the enemies, and the counter bumps up to 16. Totally mind blown. Chang-na shouts the name of the skill, having zero clue how he got his hands on that kind of power. He keeps up the rampage, dropping them one by one until he hits number 19. Pushing through with one last effort, he wrecks the 20th soldier and beats the challenge. Completely drained, our boy leans on his sword while the teacher just stares at him, absolutely speechless. Still trying to catch his breath, he lets her know he did everything she asked. She realizes that his rank S grade was definitely no fluke, and she seriously starts wondering who this kid really is. Meanwhile, over in the student council room, a girl hands over the files for the rank S freshman to the president. But she hesitates for a second and tells him there's a class schedule he really needs to take a look at. Looking super worried, she explains that one of the newbies' class choices is just straight up insane. She shows him the paper, revealing that Xiao Lin somehow enrolled in every single class available.